Welcome to Midpoint. I'm Seán, the host of Midpoint Monday. Today we're going to tell you how to vote. Well, we'll talk with the Hillsborough Supervisor of Elections about all the things you need to know in order to make sure you're registered and that your vote counts. We'd like your input, so here's how you can join the conversation. The number to call in is 813-239-9663. If you call now, you'll be first in line for your question. You can also email your question or comment to dj@wmnf.org or text us at 813-433-0885. Our guest today in the studio is Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections, Craig Latimer. Welcome to WMNF, Craig.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for joining us. Well, there's a presidential preference primary election coming up on March 15th, but not everyone can vote in that because it's only for registered Republicans and Democrats. And I'm guessing that quite a few of our listeners don't fall into those two narrow categories. Either they've registered for one of the many other parties or they've registered no party affiliation. So why don't we start out by having you tell us whether they're completely out of luck or if there's time for them to change their registrations.
Okay, yes, and Florida is a closed primary state, and what that means is in a primary election, unless you belong to one of the major parties, either the Democratic or the Republican Party, then there's nothing for you to vote on. There's no nonpartisan races in these type of events. So in the presidential preference primary, only those two parties will be voting. And there is time, though, for people to register to vote, or if they want to change their party affiliation, and they have up until February the 16th to complete that action. So if someone wants to register to vote, they can go online to our website, www.votehillsborough.org. There's an easy button to find there to register to vote, fill out the application, download it, sign it, and get it to our office. They can also go by any of the libraries. There's registration applications at the libraries or any of our 4 offices, and just get us those applications before February 16th. Likewise, if someone wants to change their party affiliation, they need to furnish us with an updated registration application indicating what party they want to change their registration to.
So are there any legal or ethical issues about switching parties to vote in the primary?
There is not. There is statutes that affect those running for office and how long they have before they can change their party, but not for a voter. There's no restriction to it whatsoever. They can change it. Book closing is always 29 days before an election. So anytime 29 days before an election, anybody can change their party. But, we also encourage people to make sure your information's up to date. Make sure if you've had a name change, make sure that we've got your new name. Make sure if you've had an address change, that you've updated your address. And also, very important, is your signature. As we mature, a lot of times our signatures change a little bit, and it's very important that, we want every vote to count. And it's important if people are voting by mail that we have a good signature on file to be able to make that comparison with.
So maybe in an abundance of caution, if you're not sure, maybe you registered several years ago, you don't remember if your signature was the same, you don't remember what address you registered at, the safest thing would probably be just to download a voter form, fill it out as everything that you want for today, correct, and then mail it back.
Well, and actually, we can make it easier than that. Again, people can go on our website, and they can see what their status is. They can put their information in, along with a street address, and it will show them what their status is. So if they go on there and put in an address, and obviously it says you're not registered or we can't find you, then they need to update that information. They've probably moved. And people, we're probably one of the last ones people think about when they move. They're worried about driver's license, checking accounts, things like that, and we're way down that list of people to notify until right before an election. But what it does is it really makes it, if you come to early vote or you vote on election day, it's going to make it much smoother for your voting experience. And on election day, you must vote in the precinct that you live in. So if you've moved and you go to your old polling site, that isn't where you live anymore, and it can cause issues. And the reason for that is because your precinct has specific districts that you're voting on. So you want to vote for the people in the district that you live in.
And in that case, sometimes people would be filling out what's it called? What's the form called when you
An address update.
Well, I mean, if you make a mistake, let's say you haven't updated your address, and then you're filling out a form.
Provisional ballot.
Provisional ballot, right. So if that happens, you might think something might be wrong. I might be in the wrong polling place, so maybe I should try to get to the bottom of it before I think I've voted.
Yeah, and let me be really clear about this, because the state statute is very clear about it, that, you know, if you have moved and you don't go to the precinct that you live in, there's a real good possibility your vote will not count. That is state statute. I will tell you there's a lot of mystery around provisional ballots and a lot of myth around it, but I can also tell you that the absolute majority of provisional ballots are in fact counted. And there's provisional ballots for various reasons. People may forget to bring identification with them. First thing we do is go ahead and compare the signature on file against that's on the envelope of the provisional ballot, and if it matches, we accept that. A voter also has 48 hours to bring us any updated information that would help that provisional ballot count. So the number of provisional ballots that aren't counted is extremely small, and it is usually, though, people that come to the wrong polling site and refuse to go to the correct polling site.
Our guest today is Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections, Craig Latimer. You're listening to Midpoint. My name is Seán. I'm the host of Midpoint Monday. It's 12:12 in the afternoon. If you'd like to join the conversation, the number to call is 813-239-9663. You can also email your question or comment to dj@wmnf.org or text us at 813-433-0885. Since we do have someone on the line, let's go to the phones. Steve in Clearwater, you're on the air. What would you like to ask?
Yeah, two quick ones. What if you only wanted to vote for the president, and it wouldn't matter what district you're in? Do you still have to just vote in your district?
Well, state statute says that you must vote in the precinct that you live in, and
Okay.
that's basically all I can tell you.
Yeah. And then also, what about homeless people or people that don't have an address and just staying with a friend right now? Next week they might be staying with a different friend. Are they not eligible to vote?
No, as a matter of fact, and that's an excellent point. And again, the state statute allows us to place people without a permanent address into a precinct that's at our office, and they can vote in any federal elections. They can't vote municipal elections. And of course, we have a lot of organizations that work with the homeless throughout our county and Hillsborough County, and they're very well aware of that. And we have those registrations in the precinct of our main office.
Okay.
Steve,
All right, those are just things I was curious about.
thanks so much for that call, Steve. We have a text message here from the 813 area code, so it's very likely to be Hillsborough County. This person is asking, I love voting by mail. What precautions do you take to make sure there is not voter fraud?
Well, first off, let me thank you for voting by mail, because it's a great way to vote. We certainly encourage that. And it's a very safe and efficient way to vote. You know, every vote by mail ballot that goes out has been requested by a voter. And then when that ballot is returned, it's electronically checked back in. And when you vote by mail, you're required to sign an oath that is on the envelope. Basically, you're swearing that this is your ballot, and you sign this oath on the back of the envelope. And then we compare that signature against the signatures that we have on file. And that goes back to what we started talking about originally here, is to make sure that you have a good signature on file with our office. Just to give you a for example, in the 2012 election, we received back in over 172,000 vote-by-mail ballots, and 154 of them were not accepted because the signature didn't match. So that's a very small number. And I can tell you this, when we say the signature doesn't match, it's like, I tried to sign your signature and I've never seen you sign it before. And there's various, I mean, we could talk about various scenarios that occur, but and while I'm on that point, though, I would like to say something, because I want, again, to go to the security of this. Let me back up and say, so say someone that's requested a vote-by-mail ballot goes into a polling site, to either an early vote site or to an election day polling site. We know that that person received a vote-by-mail ballot, and as soon as they try and check in, they're going to ask, you know, where is your vote-by-mail ballot? And they may say, well, you know, the dog ate it. So, okay, well, as we process you, it's going to automatically cancel that vote by mail ballot. So now, if you tried to, be really slick and mail that ballot and run to a polling site and vote, then when we get that ballot in, it's going to show you already voted, and it's going to kick it right out the other end, and it's not going to be tabulated. And I would also, remind people too that it's against the law to attempt to vote twice.
Does that happen much? Have you noticed much voter fraud for people trying to vote more than once?
Absolutely not. I can tell you that I've seen a couple scenarios, and I'm not trying to disparage any age group here, but because we do send ballots out a good month in advance of an election, sometimes people forgot that they had voted by mail. If they're a more mature individual and they've showed up to vote, and after we check the files and remind them, we've been able to alleviate any concerns at that point.
There's been a case in the past where at times the state has gone through the voter rolls and said, we're going to make a purge of people who are not eligible to vote, whether that's because they've moved away or they've died or they've had felonies and they're no longer eligible to have that civil right. And that's gone down to the local supervisors of elections who have found problems with these lists. What's happening right now as far as voter purges? Is there anything the state has sent you that you're looking through right now?
There is nothing that would cause the removal of anybody that's happened, and I'm sure you're referencing before the 2012 election when the state sent a very faulty list to the supervisors that had alleged people that weren't citizens on that list, and it was found to be very faulty. So, the state voter rolls, though, I will say that there's a tremendous amount of effort that goes into them where every night the state voter rolls are scrubbed against the Department of Health death files, against the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for felony convictions. Rights haven't been restored. But there's also a process in place, again, in statute, that speaks to this. And a supervisor can't just arbitrarily remove somebody because the state sent us a piece of information or we gained information from somewhere. There's an actual process that we have to go through, due diligence, where we have to attempt to notify that voter by mail, certified mail. They have an opportunity to come in to dispute or provide any evidence to the contrary. If we aren't able to reach them that way, we have a responsibility to publish their name in a newspaper of general circulation, and again, another 30 days for them to respond to that. We've done a lot of work in this community to try and help people that have had their rights removed, to affiliate them with organizations that are out there that work towards getting their rights restored. So I think that we do a really good job with that in this community, and I don't think that people need to be concerned or panicked in any way that people are just arbitrarily removed from the voter rolls.
Our guest is Craig Latimer. He's Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections. You're listening to Midpoint Monday on 88.5 FM, WMNF.org. And Craig, so you're the supervisor in Hillsborough, but I imagine that some of the advice that you're giving and some of the steps that you say that people can take to register or to update their registration, it's pretty much the same in just about any county in our area?
It is, absolutely, because it's state statute, and that's what it's all governed by. Supervisors don't have the authority to make their own rules when it comes to things like that. So it's very uniform, very open, transparent, and these dates are published. And I know, my fellow supervisors in the surrounding counties, they are constantly getting this information out. And, I would just encourage people, go to the website of your county. Go to your supervisor of elections website. There's a tremendous amount of information on there. Shortly we'll be putting up the 15 early vote sites that we have around the county. For those of you that are used to voting in Hillsborough County at early vote sites, they're the same ones. They're at public libraries and at our main offices. So, there's some valuable information there. And again, you should be able to go on and check your voter status. You can also go on and request a vote by mail ballot, on their supervisor's website. So I would certainly encourage people to take advantage of some great information that's out there.
So the March 15th presidential preference primary, there will be early in-person voting, starting when?
There will be. In Hillsborough County, and again, see, this varies from county to county, but in Hillsborough County, early voting will begin February 29th, and will run straight on through March 13th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day, including weekends. And again, those 15 early vote sites will be up on our website real shortly. And we have, as a matter of fact, just to let you know too, this Friday, we will be sending out the overseas ballots to our military and overseas individuals. And then those people that have already requested a vote-by-mail ballot that are domestic or stateside here, those ballots will be going out February the 12th. So we are in the election season, in case you weren't aware of it.
Really?
We have ballots going out Friday. So.
Our guest is Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections, Craig Latimer. If you'd like to join the conversation, if you have a question, you can call us at 813-239-9663. Text us at 813-433-0885 or email at dj@wmnf.org. Ernest in Temple Terrace. Hi, Ernest. You're on the air.
How you doing, guys?
Very good.
Okay, I have a simple question here. Suppose you going to vote, but you haven't looked at your signature, how you signed it on the card in about 6 years.
Okay, if you go to an early vote site or an election day polling site, you have to produce current photo and signature identification,
Yeah.
and that's the signature that you're going to be compared against when you sign in.
Okay.
If you vote by mail, the only signature we have is what you furnish to us. So
Okay.
that's the one that we compare, and that's why I encourage people to, make sure that you have a current signature on file.
Okay. All right, I guess I'll be going up there individually. I don't want any mistakes on this one.
Very good.
All right,
All right, thank you.
Thank you for that call, Ernest. We have another text message question, and Eric Z is asking, please ask if absentee ballots are, and I assume this means vote-by-mail ballots, are counted in general elections or only in close races. So is it, they're always counted, right? They're not just counted in close races.
Not only are they always counted, they are the first votes that are counted. Vote by mail or absentee ballot are the first ballots that are processed, and they are always all counted. There's no discretion on that.
Yeah, and on election night, if you're watching the returns on the website, those are the very first ones. You can say, okay, well, it's 15% or whatever. This candidate has this percent so far, but it's just absentee votes.
That is correct. On election night, the first results that are reported are those of vote by mail and early vote.
So how do people sign up to vote for mail? If you've already done it recently, you're probably already going to get one automatically if you signed up for that. But if you want to make sure that's renewed, or if you want to start, how do you sign up to vote by mail?
Again, another great question and point there. If you have a vote by mail request on file, again by statute, that request is only good through 2 general elections. So if you don't know when the last time you requested a vote by mail ballot, get a hold of our office, go on the website, request a vote by mail ballot. All we would do is extend that request. So maybe you only had 1 general election left, we're going to extend it through 2 more. So we always encourage people, if you're not sure, contact our office, go on our website, www.votehillsborough.org, and request a vote by mail ballot.
Our guest is Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections, Craig Latimer. It's 12:24 in the afternoon. You're listening to Midpoint on WMNF Tampa. I'm Seán, the host of Midpoint Monday. Let's talk about trends in voter registration. There have been newspaper reports and so on about how people are tending to opt away from the 2 main parties and joining either no party affiliation, which is lowercase I, independent voters, or some of the minor parties. What can you say about what's happening in Hillsborough County as far as those trends?
Well, and you're 100% correct. That's exactly what we're seeing. I can tell you that since the last presidential preference primary, registration in each of the major parties went down 2%. And I know this will surprise you, but those who are unaffiliated with a major party went up 4%. So what you're saying is 100% correct in Hillsborough County.
So it looks like instead of not just new registrations, people are actually flipping, I guess, switching from a major party to either a minor party or a unaffiliated completely, no party affiliation.
Yeah, and let me make a comment on that real quick too, because it's kind of interesting. I had an individual that came in and wanted to change to a no party affiliation, and I, was just talking to the individual and asked him why, and they said 'cause they were sick and tired of getting phone calls during campaign time, and I was like, well, be careful with that because now you're going to get it from both parties, So
Yeah,
that's a. But I understand people want to whatever party they pick, or they pick a no party affiliation. That's an individual's right to do that for whatever their reason is.
And I want to recap something we talked about early on in the show in that those people cannot vote in the Republican primary or the Democratic primary that's coming up in March, but they do still have time until February 16th to choose a party to vote in this election.
That's 100% correct. And something else that I want to put out there too, because a lot of people don't realize this, in August 30th, we're going to have a primary election. And there is, in fact, nonpartisan races, school board judges that will be on that ballot. And again, I think there's a lot of people that belong to the minor parties or no party affiliation that don't realize that, and therefore they don't come out and vote. And there is, in fact, things for them to vote on in a primary election. Presidential preference primary election, not so. Because again, unless you belong to one of the major parties, there is nothing on that ballot that you can vote on.
And it gets confusing, but that's why we're here. We're here to clarify things. There could be up to, you could vote 3 times this year. In March in the presidential primary, presidential preference primary, then in August in the primary election, and then in November in the general election.
That is correct. We have 3 elections this year.
Let's go back to the phones. We have Don in Venice. Hi, Don. What's on your mind?
How you guys doing?
Very good.
Great.
I just had a question in regard to the general election, and I've never been a big fan of early voting. I really think people need to go to the polls and vote on the day of the election, and I do understand mail voting or voting for our soldiers that are overseas in that regard. But my question is, on the early voting, are those votes counted for the actual day of election?
After early voting takes place, all the equipment's returned to our office, and what we actually do is assimilate all of those results so that we're ready to push them out on election night.
Well, I just think that compromises the chain of command by doing such a thing. They could be affected in many ways by individuals that are working in the system or for the system.
Well, Don, let me.
Yeah,
we can't see those results. Let me just be right up front with you, is that, and there's audit trails on it. There's also statutes that are out there that if someone was to try and release information, it has some very serious consequences. But I can tell you, and we're a large county here, Hillsborough County. We've got 785,000 voters. We certainly don't want lines, and if we had 785,000 voters, or 73-4% of those people showed up on election day, it would not be a pleasant day for voters. I can assure you that. And that's why, we encourage people, vote whatever method that you're most comfortable. If you like to vote by mail from the comfort of your home, and here in Hillsborough County, I will also tell you that we pay the return postage on your vote by mail ballot. So it doesn't cost you a dime. We send it to the address you requested. You fill out the ballot in the comfort of your home. You've got time if you want to research something on the internet, talk to a friend, family, whatever you want to do. You put that ballot back in the return envelope, seal it up, sign it, and send it to our office. You can do early voting. Again, we're a large county geographically, 1,100 square miles. So we have these early vote sites spread all throughout the county. We produce your specific ballot for you at an early vote site, and it's fed into the tabulator just like you would do on election day. But I also, Don, I want to thank you because you've led me to one of my favorite lines, and I like to tell people is remember that election day isn't the first day to vote, it's the last day to vote. And so if you want to vote on election day, I hope when you awaken that day that you're not sick or you have a family member that's sick you need to take care of. I hope your car starts. I hope all your tires have air in them, and that you don't have any incidents in the way of a traffic crash that would keep you from coming to the polls and casting your vote on election day.
Well, I do appreciate the information from you, and I thank you for taking the time to go over it with me.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling.
Have a great day, okay?
You too.
Don,
Thank you so much.
Don, thank you for your call. 813-239-9663. If you'd like to join the conversation, if you have a question or a comment for Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections Craig Latimer, we have the presidential preference primary coming up on March 15th. The deadline to register for that is February 16th. That's also the deadline to change your registration if you want to register as a Republican or as a Democrat and vote in those primaries. You know, I had someone tell me today that she had heard that there were people that were maybe not registered in a party at all, or maybe registered for one of the other party that wanted to change their preference in order to vote for a candidate that they didn't like, that they thought that they would get on. If that candidate got on the ballot, I'm definitely not naming names here. I don't want to put either of us in that kind of situation. But if they found this, if this candidate wins their primary, they'll be a shoo-in for the other party in the general election. Have you heard of this?
Well, Seán, I will tell you that there's politics and there's elections, and my office runs elections.
Gotcha. So, all right, as little as I was saying, you're going to say even less. All right, 813-239-9663. We have, let's see, I think Anonymous has been on the longest. Anonymous in Tampa, what's on your mind?
It's Clay from Land O'Lakes. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling, Clay.
Frank, how are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, I loved your last answer. That was a great. You could almost be a politician. What I wanted to know is how often do you monitor the changes in voter registration? In other words, I'm looking to see if there's a trend of people right now doing exactly what Seán was talking about, coming in who are no party affiliation or changing their party to the opposite party. Going on right now.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I will tell you that from time to time I certainly look at to see because we can look and see what kind of party changes are being done, not specific person. I mean, obviously we could drill down and see that, but it's kind of interesting. What I've seen in the past is it's a wash. There's people from one major party might register in another party, and people in that party register in the other major party. And I think I don't know if you heard earlier I was talking that registrations in both of the major parties have gone down 2%, and the unaffiliated NPAs have gone up 4%.
I had read that
So,
at time, but I was talking about more recently because there is a drive out there. I was at the African American Club for Martin Luther King Day celebration, the African American Club in Pasco, and there were people there getting people to change their voter registration from independents or Republicans, Democrats. They can vote for Bernie Sanders.
yeah, and again, I would direct you to my last comment.
Oh, no, I'm not trying to get
Yeah.
a comment on. What I was trying to find out is if you had actually seen that these trends were occurring. Is it happening, or have you looked?
No, I will be truthful with you. Like I said, when I've looked previously, and I haven't looked at them in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I can tell you that. But when I look at them, it pretty much is a wash.
Okay. Thank you, and I appreciate all the hard work you do. You're one of the better supervisors Hillsborough County's had in a while.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Thanks so much.